1 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister has urged the international community to oppose state terrorism and address its root causes. Addressing the 78th United Nations General Assembly session in New York, Anwarul Haq Kakar said Pakistan will continue to work actively to strengthen multilateralism institutions and enhance global cooperation. The caretaker foreign minister has called for operationalization of loss and damage fund to mitigate the impact of climate-induced disasters. In the semi-finals of the Asian Games women's cricket competition, Pakistan will play against Sri Lanka, while India will face Bangladesh at Hangzhou tomorrow. And now the news in detail. The caretaker Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Kakar has urged the international community to counter all terrorists without any discrimination, including Hindutva-inspired extremists. Addressing the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he stressed the need to oppose state terrorism and address its root causes, such as poverty, injustice, and foreign occupation, besides distinguishing genuine freedom struggles from terrorism. He said Pakistan desires peaceful and productive relations with all its neighbors, including India. However, he pointed out that Kashmir is the key to peace between Pakistan and India. The Prime Minister urged the global powers to convince New Delhi to accept Islamabad's offer of mutual restraint on strategic and conventional weapons. The Prime Minister termed peace in Afghanistan a strategic imperative for Pakistan. He said Pakistan's first priority is to prevent and counter all forms of terrorism from and within Afghanistan. Expressing Pakistan's commitment to rapid economic recovery, the Prime Minister said Pakistan has established a special investment facilitation council to expedite investment decisions. Anwarul Haq Kakar said second phase of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has been initiated, covering railways, infrastructure and manufacturing projects. The Prime Minister said Sustainable Development Goals Summit in New York and termed it as far-reaching, with commitments made to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, alluding to the complex global and regional challenges that the world faces today. Anwarul Haq Kakar said these can be best addressed through effective multilateralism within the framework of the United Nations. He said Pakistan will continue to work actively to strengthen multilateralism institutions and enhance global cooperation. Pakistan has proposed the adoption of an action plan by the Group of 77 in China for reforms in international financial architecture to support the developing countries. The proposal was put forth by the caretaker Foreign Minister Jalil Abbas Gilani while addressing an interactive dialogue on a path for the reform of international financial architecture at the 47th annual meeting of the foreign ministers of the Group of 77 in China in New York. The foreign minister suggested the creation of mechanisms within the United Nations to monitor and implement these reforms. Addressing the ministerial consultations on funding arrangements for responding to loss and damage, the foreign minister called for successful operationalization of a robust, efficient and well-resourced loss and damage fund to mitigate the negative impact of climate-induced disasters. Jalil Abbas Gilani said Pakistan looks forward to continue working closely with all the parties and international partners in a constructive manner for successful operationalization of the fund at COP28. The caretaker foreign minister Jalil Abbas Gilani had a meeting with his Azerbaijani counterpart Jehan Baramov on the sidelines of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The two sides reviewed the recent developments in bilateral relations, especially trade, defense, energy, and information technology cooperation. They also discussed common challenges, including Islamophobia and climate change, and agreed to work together at the international fora, especially at the United Nations and the OIC. Jalil Abbas Gilani briefed his Azerbaijani counterpart about the grave situation in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and intensification of ceasefire violations by the Indian side along the line of control, threatening peace and security of the region. Regional situation of South Caucasus and Azerbaijan's efforts to promote peace and stability in the region were also discussed. The ambassador of Iran to Pakistan, Raza Amiri Muqaddam, called on the Punjab Governor Mohammad Balighur Rahman in Lahore today. Matters of mutual interest, including education, culture, trade, and extension of bilateral trade, were discussed during the meeting. And now, news about sports. The semi-finals of the Asian Games women's cricket competition will be played at Hangzhou in China tomorrow. In the first semi-final, India will face Bangladesh, while Pakistan will play against Sri Lanka in the second semi-final. The final of the mega event will be played on Monday. The tournament is being played in the T20 format. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.